everybody, it's me, Margaret, and a while back I did this nutcracker scarf where I put fringe on the bottom. And I didn't like the way it came out. I just think it looks kind of messy. And you should have seen it before I put the fringe on the bottom. Well, Marilyn Lacey, and I'll put the link in the description box below, she did the same type of finish off with a needle that I did, but hers came out better, and she showed a demonstration of what she does, and I still couldn't make it look like I wanted it to. So I got to thinking about it, and I thought, what if we did a 3-needle bind off on the edges of these scarves? We'd probably get a really nice looking edge for each end. Now don't worry that this is another one of my harebrained ideas. Its idea was actually confirmed by a group of people on the Facebook group Addi King Loomers and Knits. I just have yet to see it put into production, so I gave it a try myself. This is a picture of Susie Knotting. She's the founder of that group, and she's recently started putting out her own YouTube videos specializing in Addi techniques. So if you haven't subscribed to her and you have an interest in Addi stuff, check her out. And if you're a knitter, you know what that is. If you're like me and a crocheter, I looked it up and I figured out a way to do it with a crochet hook, and I have a tutorial for that as well. I'll put the link there. So I took that same idea and I applied it to the ends of scarves, and I ended up with what I think is a better solution that I got here. But watch the process and you'll see what it looks like before I try to put the fringe on it and the whole thing. So come with me as I go on another one of my adventures. I'm always experimenting on something, so be patient. But I'm really pleased with the outcome of this. Maybe you will be too. Okay, I just cast it on with some waste yarn. So I'm about to add my main color. Now here is a handy tip. This is not necessary, but if you go ahead and leave a lot in there, you'll have enough to work with when you go through the process of squaring off the ends like we're about to do. Now, I don't know how much to leave, so I'm going to just go ahead and leave a good amount. It's not necessary though. You can add more yarn in when you get ready to do the task, and you'll still live happily ever after, but it's just a little tip. Now I'm coming to the end, and I was just planning on using up the whole skein for this one scarf, but I remembered just in time that I have to leave enough that I can use to work with when I do this 3-needle bind off. So I'm about to add the waste yarn. I'm going to pick it up off the floor and stuff it in here, not too far because this is a long tube scarf, and add my waste yarn at this point. And then I will go ahead and do 5 rounds, I suppose. So I've got my scarf here, I'm ready to work, but I want you to look at the swatch first. Now I did this side first, and I used an H hook, which is a 5mm. And then I decided to use a larger hook here, so I used the 6mm. And there's a slight difference. Can you see how nice and straight it is? Up here, these edges are nice and straight, but down here you can tell where they're beginning to pull, you see, and curve in. So for me, I think I'm most comfortable using the 6mm, which in American terms is a J, and loosely, crocheting as loosely as I can through the process. I could probably go up one to a 6.5, but I really am happy with this up here, so we're going to stick with that. Now, I've done a tutorial on how to do a crochet version of a 3-needle bind off. If you're a knitter, this is where you would use your regular 3-needle bind off. Usually what you're doing with the 3-needle bind off is basically trying to create a seam, sew 2 edges together, and you'll get this. You'll get a chain across the top, and usually you're turning it inside out, so that's not visible. In this case, we don't want to turn it inside out because we want the chain to be visible. for various reasons. So it's really handy the way our waist yarn curves over and out of the way. That's exactly what we need it to do. All right, let's look and see what we have going on here. Okay, here is the working yarn. Remember, we made that nice long beginning to our main yarn. I joined it with this waist yarn right here, so it has a very slight little knot right here. Now you can see it's a jog. This is that knitting term for where the rows keep going continually and they go above. You see how this is going above this row? Well, we're just going to treat this as one even row. We're going to pretend like it's even, and this is how I go about doing that. I untie my waist yarn from my main yarn. So we're going to eventually have to remove it anyway, right? And so this stitch where they were tied, see, that would be considered a stitch. I'm ignoring and I'm calling this the stitch I want to begin with right there. Okay, now in a 3-needle bind off, if you watch the video or if you know how to do it, you need a partner. Each one across as a partner. And we have an even number of needles, so we're good. So I'm going to grab this one below and I'm going to grab this one right next to it. And for the very first stitch, it's just a slip. You pull it through. Okay, so now we go along the same way. You grab this one and you grab its partner. Yarn over, pull through 2, and then you pull through that last one, and that creates your chain. Yarn over, pull through 2, and slip the last one. Technically what you're doing is pulling through all 3. But make sure now that you get everybody's partner. Now, because you'll run stitches, you'll lose stitches if you don't. This is how you're anchoring everything. Now I want to tell you, the reason why I pull through 2 and then pull through again is because I want to make good and sure that I'm leaving myself enough room for this chain. See, I'm pulling through enough extra yarn here to make sure I have a nice relaxed chain so that it doesn't pull. I want it to be square with right angles. And now I'm down to my last 2. This is a little tricky because I have a great big old crochet hook and it seems tighter. But this is what I need to make my edges even. Okay, so there's the little chain right there. Just so you'll know, I left way too much yarn to work with, so you don't need that much. Now, here's questionable. You're going to need enough to sew, leave to sew in. And what I did last night, and I am perfectly comfortable with, and because it's on the end of a scarf, I want to do this for my finish. A lot of times I won't do that last pull through like that. I will just pull it through because it makes it lie flat and doesn't give you this little knotted edge. You see it? And I'll sew it all through. But in this case, it's on the end of a scarf going to a child. I want it to be as secure as possible. Okay. This yarn happens to be the cast-on edge, and whenever you have the yarn on the waist yarn on the cast-on edge, you have to cut it off. I know Barb 515 shows how to use what did you call that? Release cord, I think, which looked really cool. It's slick, and you use it right against here before you put the rest of the waist yarn on there, and when you slip it out, everything drops off, which would be really neat. I haven't tried that yet, but I'm willing to. But anyway, go ahead and remove this waist yarn here and we'll see what it looks like. So here's my finished edge, and I really, really like it. I accidentally poked it with the scissors right here, so now I've got a little, well, Now I've got a little pull right there, but other than that, it would have been perfect. So now I'll use a tapestry needle. I'll sew this end in, and we'll have a nice finished edge. Now, when you get ready to do your other end, you want to make sure that your scarf is lying flat. Okay, so be real careful as you go through here and make sure that everything is lying flat and straight and you're not getting any twists. See how I'm starting to twist here? I don't want that. Okay, once you get to the end, go ahead and repeat the process on this end. This end is really easy because your yarn just pulls right out, and you can use this again for waste yarn. Alright, so I have my end here, and it's looking good. So I'll need to sew in the ends to get that taken care of. Now I'm very pleased with the outcome of these two ends. This is what that side looks like, and here you can clearly see the chain on the other side. But I would be very comfortable leaving them just like this, but look how easy it would be to put tassels on it nicely and neatly.
Not tassels, fringe.
So I've wrapped my fringe. I always use a game box or a DVD. I wrapped it around. I cut it only one time, and here's all my fringe that I have. Okay, if you'll notice, the chain itself lies on its side. This is what it looks like on the end. So I think what we'll need to do is slide it right through these two on the end. I've got my tassels folded in half, and I pull them through, and then I try to make sure they're kind of even on the end, and then wrap over, yarn over, and I pull all of them through again. So we have it attached. So here I go, repeating the process. And I'm going to do this all the way across. Skip one, add a tassel. Okay, so, oops, I lost that guy. Come back. Okay, so there's the tassel. I'm going to skip that one, and I'm going to add the tassel in right here. Can you see that? There's the tassel, or fringe I should say, and then I'm going to put the hook in right here. So here they are compared to one another, and you can see how much neater this end is. I'm much more pleased with this end, but I really like the fullness of this. But I'm afraid that I don't have enough room, and it's going to make it splay out. You see how this one's sort of splayed out? So I wonder what would happen if I just added one strand in between each of these, if that would be too much for it. I don't know. I'm going to give it a go. Alright, so here we are with the singles in between the doubles, and I think it did pretty well. It splayed a touch, but it still loads better than this side, I think. Still got something funky going on over here, but this looks really good, doesn't it? So I think with practice I can get this down a little bit better. So there you go.
For flat panels, I want to recommend this video by The Answer Lady Knits. It gives a similar chain stitch along the edge, and it's done with a tapestry needle. And be sure to check out this video by Barb515 as well. She gives several different ways to finish off your flat panel, and you'll see a demonstration of that ravel cord.